Hey everybody, how's it going? This is Max with BuzzTox here, and I'm back with my review to House of the Dragon Season 1, Episode 8. And I sound like a broken record, but I absolutely love this episode again. It was a bit slower, but I appreciated it. Every single scene, they took their time, and it was powerful. The scene of King Viserys walking to his throne was extremely powerful. The scene with Rhaenyra and her father in his quarters was powerful. And I really enjoyed seeing the dynamic of the children and really seeing the division between the blacks and the greens and how this is coming about. Everything in this episode was great. I do have one minor gripe. In the last scene, when King Viserys is talking to Alicent and he tells her about Aegon being the one to lead everyone into the long night, kind of being confused, he was continuing his conversation with Rhaenyra about Aegon the Conqueror and his dream about protecting the world and it being called the Song of Ice and Fire. And Alicent completely interpreted that as her son, their son Aegon, is the one. Which I personally think that was weak. I don't think that had to happen. I think they could have justified Alicent's support for her son regardless of that plot point. So that's my only true gripe about this episode. But really, this episode focused on one key plot point, and that had to do with House Valyrian. Essentially, Corlys is gone, and it's a matter of succession. Who is now going to take over Driftmark? And Corlys' brother feels like he has a claim. So this essentially brings together a council where everyone meets up in King's Landing to dictate what happens to Driftmark. And through that, we get to see real development through these different factions of House Green and House Black. First, let's start with Rhaenyra. It was great to see her kind of having this family dynamic with Daemon. They seem like they have a strong relationship. I really loved seeing her sons. You have Joffrey, but then you also have Jace and Luke. And we get to learn more about these kids. And we spent a lot of time learning about Prince Jacaerys. And we see that he is completely up to the task of being king. And he seems like a responsible, respectable guy. He's trying to learn High Valyrian. He's trying to do his duty. And I appreciated that too, where during the family dinner, Rhaenyra respects her father so much, she tries to make amends again, making a toast to Alicent Hightower. And then Jacaerys follows in his mother's footsteps and makes a speech to try and mend the relationship between him and his cousins. And I think that really shows the strength of his character. He really is rising to the occasion as the next potential king of the Seven Kingdoms. And what's even more impressive about Jacaerys is he's supposed to wed Daemon's daughter, basically uniting House Valyrian and Targaryen once again. And then you have Aegon teasing him and his future wife, and he still handles it with grace. Outside of Jace, we get to see Rhaenyra's other two kids that she has with Daemon, and that's going to be Viserys and Aegon. So there's a lot of different Aegons to keep track of. But anyways, they end up going to King's Landing, and we can see that it's already different. King Viserys is very sick and ill. The High Towers have essentially taken over. You see more influences of the Faith of the Seven that Rhaenyra had a hard time with because it's newly implemented, and the crown is crutching on the Faith of the Seven even more. And with that new power, we get to see the King's Council now, and Alicent is at the head of the seat, quote-unquote, representing the king, and she has her father as Hand of the King by her side, and we can see differences in politics, where this man right here is saying that Prince Viserys Valyrian is the heir to Driftmark. It is the bloodline, it's the way it is. It is the traditional way of doing things, whereas you have Alicent and her father and the rest of the table talking about strategically, he doesn't know how to operate a fleet of ships. He hasn't lived in Driftmark. He's not a strategic pick for the throne. So you can see the traditional values of it just passing down to the next of kin is being kind of moved out of sorts. And now the main incentive is how do we put somebody at the seat of Driftmark who is going to benefit the crown? So you can see that pivot starting to happen, and all of those decisions are being made against the benefit of Rhaenyra Targaryen. But outside of that, we see Rhaenyra meet with her father. I thought that these scenes were excellent. I really appreciate their relationship. I absolutely love it. I always said King Viserys has a very kind heart. The love of his life was his wife who died, and he really loves and cares for Rhaenyra, calling her his only child. So he will always have her back. He wants peace with the family before he passes. So I like how they stayed true to his love for his daughter. And I thought that made that scene so powerful when he went to the throne room and made his walk. I thought it was excellent. I love how they took their time. I love how he dropped his crown and Daemon picked it up and walked him to his seat. I thought it was so incredibly well done. And they really sold like the amount of strength it took for him to do that, refusing Milk of the Poppy and kind of doing his final duty as king, deciding that his grandson Jacaerys is going to seat Driftmark. But then we had the Greens, where we get to learn about King Viserys' new family with Alicent Hightower. And first we have Alicent basically trying to control her kids. And a lot of, like, they're basically uncontrollable. They're not as well behaved as Rhaenyra's kids. You have Aegon, who is supposed to be the claim to the throne on the green side. And he is a whiny bum, and he raped this girl. And you have to see his mother hear these things of her son and essentially extinguish these rumors so they don't happen. Which, by the way, this actress did an incredible job. So he's just a scumbag. And you even see that with his interaction with Jace and Jace's soon-to-be wife, just taunting him. But the character that really impressed me was Aemon. Last time we saw this guy, he hopped on a dragon, and he took Vhagar as a dragon for his own. And last episode, we saw him lose his eye because of his fight with Jace. This guy makes me uneasy. The look in his eye, he's like a psychopath. But he's so engaging to watch. You can tell that as a kid, he was bullied and made fun of, and him just trying to get Vhagar for himself. He always tried to amount to something. And you can see in his character, he's done nothing but put in the work, where he is becoming the best fighter he can. And he's a real formidable force. And you can see a part of him, he almost admires Daemon in a way, even though they're on opposite sides. But he almost is the other side of a Daemon type. But I thought, as an actor, I thought he was incredible. His intense stare. And you can tell that he holds a complete grudge against Jace, Joffrey, and Luke. No matter what's said, he's angry that his eye's gone. He has all this resentment and anger, and he'll never forgive them. And that scene during dinner I thought was so powerful. When he made a toast and then said, toasted them for being strong. And it was obviously a slight to them because they're bastards of that man who was the head of House Strong. So clearly peace cannot be made. And we see Rhaenyra trying her hardest. We see her kids trying to bring peace. And all of the conflict seems to be coming from the Greens at this point. Especially in the last scene, which I did not like. It's the only part of this that I didn't like, was King Viserys being confused and essentially talking about Aegon's conquest and his dream of ice and fire and saving the world, and Alicent interpreting that as their son Aegon, which is hilarious because earlier in this episode she denounced him as her son. So I thought we could have dealt without that scene. I think there was a way that we could have got Alicent to make the decision she does to support her family versus Rhaenyra's without that happening. But anyways, it doesn't matter. And then the last shot is of King Viserys seemingly dying. I don't want to confirm that he's dead or not. Obviously, it's going to happen. But we might end episode 9 with the death of King Viserys. So we will see what happens. But other than that, great episode. A lot of key scenes I loved. The dinner scene I thought was incredible. Anything with King Viserys was really great to watch. But those are my thoughts. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. And until next time, I'll see you guys later.